I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room. Good morning, Locker Room faithfuls, and welcome to another episode of The Locker Room, NBA Bubble Edition, episode number 3. Very excited to have you joining me. I want to say thank you so much to everybody who joins in and listens. You guys remind me of the Marines, the few and the proud. But I love you guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you follow The Locker Room on Twitter, TLR with Jacob, on Instagram, The Locker Room Podcast 615, and on Facebook, The Locker Room host Jacob. Like, subscribe, follow. Let's get into the first round of the NBA playoffs. All right, well, it is a rarity here in The Locker Room that Jacob Courtwright is wrong, but I am wrong, and I am proud to admit that I am wrong. Devin Booker definitely deserves any other time of the year, any other day, any other week. He deserves to be the NBA bubble MVP. Without a doubt, his team went undefeated in the bubble, and granted, they did miss the playoffs, but there's a performance that I just can't ignore. Damian Lillard deserves to be the NBA bubble MVP. Over 150 points in 3 games, which is mind-blowing to say the least. Every single game's an elimination game. He now has Portland as the 8th seed in the NBA playoffs, playing a play-in game today against the Memphis Grizzlies. That's a performance I just simply can't ignore. Now, like I said, any other time, any other day, any other week, Devin Booker's performance, the Phoenix Suns' performance, definitely is my steal away for surprise team of the bubble. Devin Booker would be my runaway MVP, but what Damian Lillard has done, what he has done to put the Portland Trail Blazers into the playoffs, what he has done points-wise, the last 3 games have been mind-blowing. They needed every single one of those points in order to win those games. Dame has 31 or 41 as opposed to the 51 or 61. Take 10 points off, they lose by 15. I mean, that's crazy to say the least. Dame assisted in his last game where he had the 61. Dame assisted or scored 22 of the 36 points scored in the fourth quarter. That's one of the official statistics that has come out. Some have said that it is even more, that he impacted. If you look at the overall impact, what impact did he have on those points? Some are saying that he had almost 85% to 90% of an impact on every single play in the fourth quarter in order for them to pull out that win. Now, don't get me wrong. A healthy Memphis Grizzlies probably squeezes out a few more games, and I don't think the Portland Trail Blazers are in the playoffs. They might not even be in the hunt if it wasn't for the Memphis Grizzlies completely tanking and everybody else just having a schlubby performance via the Pelicans. What a nightmare that was. But congrats. Damian Lillard, has got to be my NBA bubble MVP. I want to give it to Booker. Booker, you are my most improved. You're my surprise player of the bubble. The Suns are the surprise team of the bubble. You get every other award but bubble MVP. Damian Lillard, that's got to go to you. I apologize. I'm putting some respect on your name right now. Now, let's go into the biggest disappointments of the NBA bubble, or of the NBA, I should say. First and foremost, the Philadelphia 76ers. You're a joke. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, 2 top 15 players in the league if they are healthy and playing at full max, are garbage together. Goodbye to one of you. Philly, you've got to kick one of them out right now. This is never going to work. You can't have 2 stars that are both injury prone, that both can't finish a season, that both can't carry a team. When Tobias Harris is your best player, when Tobias Harris is the one carrying your team not only offensively but defensively and leadership-wise, you have a problem in Philly. You have 2 players that could be, Joel Embiid could be a top 4, top 5 player in the league. Ben Simmons could round out right at the top 10. If he performed consistently and actually stayed healthy. When you have both of those talents on your team, both of them can't stay healthy, both of them are not good leaders, both of them have choked consistently year after year, you got to get rid of one of them. The next biggest disappointment, without a doubt, has got to be the New Orleans Pelicans. The NBA did everything to get Zion Williamson and these New Orleans Pelicans into the playoffs. They did everything to get them on nationally televised games every single time they played in these 8 seeding games. They did everything for Alvin Gentry and the New Orleans Pelicans. There is a reason Alvin Gentry is no longer with the New Orleans Pelicans. I tweeted this to my buddy the other day on the Locker Room's Twitter. Alvin Gentry will not be with the New Orleans Pelicans for the future. This morning, lo and behold, it broke. Alvin Gentry is no longer with the New Orleans Pelicans. What he did with Zion Williamson's minutes when he came back was atrocious. What he did with the rotation was atrocious. Drew Holiday is a top 10 point guard in this league, or guard in general in this league, and he made Drew Holiday look like he was Josh Hart. Brandon Ingram did not come up big. He had no way of reining in Brandon Ingram's greatness that he will eventually, lo and behold, probably become, hopefully, in this league, because I love Brandon Ingram. He did nothing to rein that in. He did nothing to focus it. He didn't make Brandon Ingram an attacker when they needed him. He made Brandon Ingram a shot chucker-upper for absolutely no reason. Zion Williamson would come in and play 15, 20 minutes, and then he'd be sitting on a bench. Here's the deal. I don't know that Zion can play a full 30, 35-minute game. He looks slow. He didn't look in shape. He's got to lose at least 20, 25 pounds. That's something we can talk about at a later date. But overall, the Pelicans were a huge disappointment. I was excited to see Zion. I was excited to see Drew Holiday, Brandon Ingram. I was excited to see Lonzo Ball on his revenge tour, so to speak, as he's been telling everybody. It was a disappointment. The Pelicans arguably are the biggest disappointment in this entire bubble. At least for me, they are. And last but not least, my biggest disappointment, no, it is not the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers clinched a 1 seed. What more do you want? The Lakers clinched the number 1 seed in the West. They had no other motivation. They beat the Clippers, who people call the greatest team in this bubble. Okay, what more do you want from the Lakers? It's not the Los Angeles Lakers, but it is a top contender. The Milwaukee Bucks are another one of my biggest disappointments in the bubble. They have proven a lot of weaknesses over this short time, over these 8 games. Giannis hasn't looked that great. Giannis got ejected and suspended for headbutting somebody. When have we ever seen Giannis do that? We haven't. It's the frustration that the Bucks have. The Bucks have a team that has a limit, and I think that frustrates them more than anything. And that limit is not an NBA championship. That limit is Giannis can't shoot 15 feet and out consistently at all. Middleton is inconsistent. Some nights he goes for 39 or 28 or 32. The next night he goes for 15. So Chris Middleton's inconsistent. Bledsoe's inconsistent. Hill coming off the bench is the most consistent along with the Lopez brothers. But they realize they have a ceiling. Listen, if you want Giannis to be the greatest player in the world, if you want Giannis to be the all-around greatest player we'll see for the next 15 years, he's got to develop a jump shot 15 feet and out. You can't keep telling me that at age 31, 32, 35, like LeBron is right now, that Giannis can continually go in and just bang with all these young stud centers and power forwards. It won't happen. It can't happen. The reason LeBron James is great is LeBron James has adapted his game over time. LeBron James has adapted into a better shooter, has adapted into a better passer, has adapted into a smarter basketball player. Giannis needs to turn that around right now. Now, I know Giannis is very young. I'm not saying Giannis is a lost cause or he won't be the greatest player in the world. Giannis is incredible. He's an incredible talent. He very well will probably hold both of those titles as greatest in the world and best player in the league for several years to come. But he's got to turn this around now. He's got to be a better shooter. He's got to be more consistent playmaker. The Bucks have a ceiling. They've been disappointing to me. Giannis getting kicked out and headbutting somebody, that's not something we see from Giannis. That's not something we see from the Bucks. The Bucks are in a scary situation because you have a Toronto Raptors team and a Boston Celtics team, both that could take that division. So that's my 3 disappointing teams of the NBA bubble so far. I'm sure there will be more as we go along, but just disappointed in all 3 of those teams' performances, their players, their lack of leadership, lack of focus, and the lack to just stay healthy. All right, now what we're going to do now is go through the first round of the NBA playoffs. We're going to go through every matchup. I'm going to predict how many games it will go, who comes out on top of the series. Today is only the first round. Of course, you already know who I'm picking for the championship. But it's going to go, we're going to go week by week because my pick might change depending on how certain teams start playing. The Lakers have every opportunity and have every reason to win this championship. But the Lakers do have the hardest path to the championship. They're the only team that doesn't know who they're playing in the first round. And Portland and Memphis are 2 very different teams to plan for. Portland is on fire right now. Memphis is not. Memphis is a cakewalk. I think actually Portland will be better for the Lakers. It will make them be sharp from the beginning. It will help them be better on defense as they play either a Houston Rockets team or a Los Angeles Clippers team in the finals who have 2 dynamic guards. That would actually be a little bit more beneficial to the Lakers, so they have to lock in a little bit earlier, but we'll see. All right, so we are going to go on first round, starting off with the Bucks versus the Orlando Magic. This is a close one. That's a joke. The Bucks will sweep this in 4 without a doubt. The Orlando Magic have no one that can check Giannis, have no one that can crash the boards like the Lopez brothers. They do not have more dynamic guard play to check Bledsoe or Hill or whoever comes in, or Chris Middleton definitely. Chris Middleton's going to have a field day. I'm sure they're going to put all their attention on Giannis. Chris Middleton should have 35 every single one of these games. Easy sweep for the Bucks in the first round. Miami Heat versus the Pacers. This is actually a very good series. The Pacers have been playing very well. TJ Warren, if he can perform like he has been, will make it interesting. But Jimmy Butler's on a mission. Last time Jimmy Butler and TJ Warren squared up in the bubble, he held TJ Warren to 12 points and 5 rebounds. So I'm going to go Miami Heat in 6 here. Victor Oladipo, TJ Warren might squeeze out 1 or 2, but I think the Heat's overall team camaraderie, the Heat's overall rebounding, the Heat's overall shooting is just going to be a little bit too much for these Indiana Pacers. Jimmy Butler is going to be defending TJ Warren probably every game this series, strictly to prove a point. The Miami Heat are a couple years away probably of being a very top team in the East. They have a lot of young talent. If they can keep this young talent together, if they can bring in 1 or 2 guys that buy into this non-selfish mentality, they don't care who's scoring the ball as long as the ball's going in the hole. Everybody plays defense. Everybody flies around. Everybody's got each other's back. The Miami Heat are going to be a top team in the East in the next few years. If they can find those 1 or 2 pieces to really plug into this system that can be consistent, maybe Ben Simmons down here at point guard, you have him and Dragic, or even get rid of Dragic. You can pick up Ben Simmons now, someone who's going to be very unselfish, someone who's going to have a lot of attention eyes-wise. I mean, there's a lot of good moves that the Miami Heat can make in this offseason that would bode well for these Heat, and I think the Heat are going to be a top team in the East for years to come if they can build this young core and keep them together. Next up, we got the Celtics versus the 76ers. This one is interesting because I do not know what's going to happen with Joel Embiid. I know Ben Simmons is on basically, I think he's gone the rest of the season. They say that there's a possibility if they go into the second round, he could come back. I don't believe that's going to happen. Joel Embiid, you never know what you're going to get. If Joel Embiid can show up and be healthy for a few games, they might squeeze 1 or 2 out, but Celtics in 6. Here's the deal. The Celtics are definitely no slouch in the East. Between the Raptors and Celtics, they are going to give the Bucks everything that the Bucks don't want to have to handle to take that spot. Now, the Celtics and Raptors will probably meet up before then, depending on how this bracket plays out. And if that's the case, then kudos to the Bucks. But if the Bucks have to face the Raptors and the Boston Celtics, I don't know that the Bucks come out on top. Both teams are dynamic. Both teams love to play defense. Both teams have young stars. And Pascal Siakam, if I could pronounce his name right, Jason Tatum and Jayon Brown.